All right, moving on now to story number 2. This past week also was the Grammys, which actually wasn't that big of a deal this year. I think that it had the lowest ratings that it has ever had. I mean, that's saying something, honestly, even when most of the states in the union are still in lockdown mode because of Chairman Xi's never-ending pandemic. The Grammys still have a historically low rating. That is impressive. And honestly, no one was interested in who won what for what song or what genre, just as probably future cultural historians won't be interested in that either, if anyone even looks at the Grammys in general or the 2021 Grammys in particular, because what caught everyone's attention was Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion during the Grammys. They performed their song WAP. Last year I made a whole video about WAP. But what really caught people's attention in their live performance, okay? The Grammys were, of course, public television. Anyone and everyone could watch it. And still, even though for the historically low ratings, a lot of people did still watch it. So, on public television, during their performance of WAP, which they say was slightly toned down for the occasion of the Grammys, Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B started on stage simulating lesbian sex. I should have actually put a warning up, like a PG warning up. If you've got little pictures, if you've got virgin ears, little innocent people around, stop this video right now, watch it after you tuck them into bed, okay? Because this content is definitely not family friendly. But again, in all seriousness, it's something that we need to talk about. So, Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, they're performing WAP in front of basically an international audience for the Grammys, and they start simulating lesbian sex. And this, of course, naturally initiated a backlash because people, and rightfully so in my opinion, said that is completely inappropriate for something that people will watch with their kids. Again, this isn't a movie that actually has a rating system, right? The MPAA doesn't get a preview of what the Grammy show is going to look like, and so they can slap a rating on it. It's not a television show where you can go to IMDb or you can go to Common Sense Media or anything like that to see if there's anything, that you've got to skip forward. If this is, maybe we should watch this, after the kids are asleep on a Wednesday night, things like that. Of course not. It's the Grammys. People are given awards for music. Okay? We don't expect people, two women, to start simulating sex with each other right there on the stage. I mean, maybe it's a sad commentary on our culture. I mean, that in and of itself is a sad commentary, but the even sadder part is maybe we should have expected it. Maybe, honestly, gang, we should have said, it's only a matter of time before this happens. Because, of course, as the envelope keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed, people have to be more and more and more outrageous in order to get those conversations started, in order to get those likes, in order to be the center of attention, which, let's just face it, so many celebrities now want to be. It's not about creating art. It's not about actually performing. It's about being the center of attention. And in a sense, that's what it's always been about, in one sense, but it has just been hyped now up to 50. So there was a backlash, and Cardi B spoke out against that backlash on Instagram. This is what she said, quote, "I don't make music for kids, I make music for adults. Parents are responsible on what their children listen to or see. I'm a very sexual person, but not around my child, just like every other parent should be. My daughter doesn't need to listen to music to be empowered, neither should your children. I never ever said that WAP was made to empower women. I'm just a freaky person, and this is not the first sex song ever made. Stop expecting celebs to raise your kids." Now, on that last line, I agree completely with Cardi B. Yes! Celebrities should not be raising our kids. Celebrities should not, which also means that we shouldn't give celebrities the opportunity to raise our kids. I find it mind-boggling that people would actually give their children from anywhere as young as 4 to 10 a smartphone or an iPad. I find it completely impossible. I mean, completely mind-boggling to think that, because of course every time you have a smartphone, which I can't show you because I use my phone to record these videos, or you have a laptop, or you have an iPad, basically anything that can connect you to the World Wide Web, you are giving celebrities a direct avenue into your child's brain. That is simply the truth of it, because we are such a celebrity-obsessed culture. So I agree with Cardi B when she says that, yes, we should expect celebrities to raise our children, which means that we actually should sort of start reconsidering, recalibrating what we're allowing our kids to do, what we're allowing our kids to watch, sort of the activities that they do, and what we just give them, right? Smartphones instead of Legos or Lincoln Logs or, a kite or whatever, something that's entertaining that is not digital, okay? But here's where it gets serious. I agree with that part, but Cardi B is lying. She's lying because she knows that celebrities raise their children. She knows that this is the default position. She knows first that we are a celebrity-obsessed culture. She knows that we are a hyper-sexualized culture. And so she knows too that smartphones, iPads, digital devices of whatever sort that connect people to the internet are becoming more and more common with people who are younger, and younger. She knows all this. So she knows also that even if parents do their damnedest to protect their children from what she and Megan Thee Stallion did, for protecting their 6-year-old from this, right? From these so-called performances, she knows that it's the equivalent of trying to roll the Rock of Gibraltar up Mount Everest. That's basically what these parents are up against. That's the challenge parents have, because the entire culture is arrayed against them. That's just the plain fact of it, because we are a celebrity-obsessed culture. We are a hyper-sexualized culture. And even if parents protect their children, okay, so they don't give them a smartphone or an iPad, if they're on the computer at home, it's in the living room or whatever, everyone can see what you're looking at, and you've got protections on it, so you can't stumble upon something that you don't want them to see at that tender young age. As soon as they leave the house, it's like walking into the jungle, because guess what? More than likely, one, at least, of their friends is going to have his own iPhone or iPad. More than likely, multiple friends that they have are going to have some sort of digital device. You go out in public, and then all of a sudden you are listening to other people's music. You're listening to other people's radio or other people's accounts on iHeartRadio, Spotify, whatever they listen to. They are then, subjected to what other people watch. Maybe they have friends whose parents are not as stringent, not as diligent about those sort of things. And so even if the parents are trying their best in the confines of their own home, which is really where their authority has the most potency, even if parents are doing that, as soon as they send their kids out into the world, they're sending them out into a jungle. And Cardi B knows this, okay? So, yes, parents have a responsibility. Cardi B has a responsibility, though, as a celebrity and as a grown adult, because she knows what the situation is. She has the responsibility and the duty to tone down what she does. Maybe, don't start simulating sex with another woman on the Grammys, especially on something like the Grammys, where that parents and children watch together, or potentially can watch together, because again, it's not a movie or a TV show. It doesn't come with a rating system from the MPAA. And then, I just have to make mention. Where she says that I never said that WAP was made to empower women. Baloney. She might not have explicitly said that WAP was meant to empower women. However, that is definitely what a lot of people took from WAP. Here is, for example, a headline from the website Pop Sugar that was written by Ree Cartwright, published on August 10th of 2020. Headline: Cardi B's WAP highlights the hypocrisy that sex is taboo when women steer the conversation. Here's the first paragraph, quote, "Perhaps the only thing that could irk our patriarchal society more than seeing women unapologetically reclaim their sexuality is seeing not one, but two black women do so. The exploitation and fetishization of black female bodies is rooted in colonialism and free of both literal and metaphorical shackles. Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion are spearheading a new wave of female empowerment with the release of their first collaborative anthem, WAP." Here's another headline from the website Complex, this one written by Brianna Holt, published on August 9th of 2020. Headline: Why Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion's empowering anthem WAP is so important. Here's a headline. Here's one of the paragraphs from it. Quote, "Both Cardi B and Megan are powerhouses of female sexuality, independence, and dominance. In a male-dominated genre that is often criticized for a misogynistic wordplay toward women, the two rappers have never shied away from taking back the narrative of femininity in hip-hop. And during a time when black women have taken to social media to advocate for their protection and support while basking in their blackness, the music video couldn't be more timely." So, even if Cardi B or Megan Thee Stallion did not specifically say that WAP was empowering, that was definitely the message that was taken by the powers that be and by all the people who matter, that WAP was empowering for women. So, and as far as I know, Cardi B never came out and said, "Hey, people, you've made a mistake. This isn't supposed to be empowering at all." As far as I know, she never made such a declaration, which would set the record straight, as people say. So no, she might never have come out explicitly and said that WAP was never empowering, but that was definitely the message that we were supposed to take from it. And that's definitely the message that was taken from it. Now, since this entire argument got started, I have seen people argue that this is just another distraction on the left. And this proves that the right is so easily distracted, because while we're arguing over here about what Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion did at the Grammys, which of course has seen its share of sexualized performances, the left and the Democrats, they're getting ready to pass H.R. 1, which I am going to have a whole video on coming this week. You won't want to miss that. They're getting ready, to pass that. They're abolishing biological sex, right? Biden and his administration, they're insulting the Russians. They're alienating the Russians. China is on the rise. This is just another distraction. There are so many other things that we need to talk about. Now, to my mind, it's not a question of either or, it's a matter of both and. Yes, we have to talk about H.R. 1. We have to push back against it. We have to talk about China. We have to be preparing for a million different things. But at the same time, we cannot let this slip under the rug, because this performance at the Grammys is important as well. In fact, it might be one of the most important things. Let me just put it to you like this, gang. If there was no power in weaponized sexuality, a la Brave New World, where people are controlled through the drug Soma and through just complete uninhibited sexuality with anyone at any time, no matter what the occasion, where when the children are born, again, in Brave New World, the children are actually created in laboratories and they are conditioned from before they are fully developed to belong to a certain caste of society with certain jobs and responsibilities for keeping this society going. As soon as they're born, they're raised collectively by the powers that be. They are initiated into quote-unquote sex play. So little 5, 6, 7, 10, 12-year-old boys are basically taught to engage in sex play with one another, to condition them to the idea that sex is just a plaything. They weaponize sex in order to control people through pleasure. That's one of the big points of Brave New World. And that is definitely powerful. That is so powerful, gang, because the sex drive in us is so powerful, because that's the drive that actually ensures that humanity continues. Of course that drive would be powerful in us. And that's why when it's diverted from what its intended use and end is supposed to be, it leads to all sorts of problems, difficulties, and all hell literally breaks loose, as you can see actually from just looking at our own society. If it was not powerful, the left would not have worked so hard to actually get us to this point. Again, we didn't go from Leave It to Beaver Saturday night to WAP on Monday night, and then to WAP being performed live at the Grammys with simulated lesbian sex on Wednesday night. It didn't happen like that. This has been a long road, gang, all leading to this point. The left definitely thinks that it is worth conditioning us little by little by little by little until we have reached this point where people are either just flustered and shocked and this is terrible, or people are actually actively defending it, or the vast majority of people are just like, well, you know what, it's just the culture and the culture is sludge. No. This is important because the left understands that there is power here. There is power in weaponized sexuality. There is power in infusing that hyper-sexualization into the culture and then just cascading it, pouring it on every single person 24/7. Whenever you interact with the culture, there's a huge chance that you are going to come into contact with that hyper-sexualization. And this is just to make a final point on it. That's why it's important. And then this leads to my final point, which is that this is why we cannot ignore it, and we cannot simply anymore just hope or work for a little enclave for ourselves where, well, you know, the rest of the world, they can watch WAP. You know, we're going to raise our kids on the Andy Griffith Show, Leave It to Beaver, Wild Wild West, the original Star Trek, you know, even something maybe like Manimal. I'm really showing my age and my geekiness here. We can't do that. We can't do that. We cannot play defensive because sooner or later, the gates are going to be breached. Sooner or later, the kids have to leave home. Sooner or later, parents can't protect them anymore. Sooner or later, kids are going to become part of the mainstream culture. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. And even if you've been raised with the best principles and values, you know, being in contact with that culture 24/7, again, you start to pick up the messages of that culture at the very least through osmosis. And so you can't play defensive. There needs to be an active campaign, not just so that our brand, our ideas of entertainment, our stories can have an equal footing with things like WAP and Hollywood. We don't want an equal footing with those things. We want to dominate and crush them. That is to be the end goal. We don't want a pluralistic society or a pluralistic culture in that sense, where the 2025 equivalent of Leave It to Beaver, you know, plays right after, you know, Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion's Playhouse, Fantasy Island, mishmash, whatever. We want a culture where that mishmash can't even be conceived because people understand that, hey, you know what? That's wrong on a whole bunch of different levels. That needs to be the goal. And that is story number 2.